Welcome back to another special edition of Q-Tips. We're the Video Store Junkies, and we are here to bring you a few recommendations to watch on the weekend of the 17th. So let's just kick it off, and we will go with Paul.
Oh, hello. Let's see. So, we love our doll movies. And Renee's going, oh shit, wait, I was going to recommend these. I hope not. I should have checked with you. So I'm going to go with my first recommendation is called The Doll. You're like, but Paul, there's 8 million movies called The Doll. Well, this is from 2016. It's Indonesian and it's on Netflix. It is by director Rocky Soraya. Can't read my own handwriting. Uh, anyway, it's a Indonesian horror film about now. Okay, you're like, well, I've seen enough possessed doll movies. No, but what's cool about these is the doll is more a conduit for an evil spirit. Yeah, the doll moves a little bit, but really it's the evil spirit, and it's scary as hell. And the main character in these films is a character called Laras, who's basically like a uh, psychic, psychic investigator slash exorcist kind of thing, played by Sarah. I can't pronounce it. It's Indonesian, and I'm terrible. I'm gonna mangle her name, so I'll try anyway. Sarah Wihan. Yeah, I can't remember it. Anyway, you can look it up. Anyway, very scary, very creepy, and you're like, but Paul, isn't Indonesia a primarily Muslim country, and how could that be like, oh my God, these movies are brutal as hell. Really worth watching. Again, that's The Doll, 2016 on Netflix is the Indonesian one. And speaking of dolls, I'll pass this to Zach.
Yeah, it's true. Every production of Guys and Dolls at school, I got cast as the doll. It was kind of disheartening, but whatever. I rolled with it. So I am actually, getting back into a hobby of mine that I haven't really been involved in for about 20 years, but I'm getting back into reading comic books. First of all, my God, comic books are so expensive these days, but they're fun. They're fun to read. They're fun to collect. For the first time in a long time, I'm kind of getting back and kind of reading some newer stuff. Lots of good stuff out there, but I'm not going to recommend a comic book. However, I did kind of get in the mood to watch some comic TV. And so I'm going to recommend, I think, the show that gets the least amount of recognition out of the kind of recent batch of comic book adaptations. And that is a show that is currently streaming on Hulu. The name of the show is Legion. And it is kind of based on a Marvel comic. It's kind of based on one of the X-Men characters. Although when I say it's kind of based on one of the X-Men characters, I mean, if you have no interest in the X-Men, if you've never read an X-Men comic in your entire life, you can sit down and enjoy the show. It requires no previous knowledge of any of the characters. And so it's actually a pretty good jumping on kind of point if you have no familiarity with these characters, but you still maybe have a little bit of interest in kind of the concepts. So it's about mutants. Obviously, it's about a guy who has some mutant powers, and let's just say that he also has some psychological issues, and that's all I'm going to say because it's kind of a complicated story, and I don't want to give anything away, but I would say just watch the first 2 or 3 episodes, and you will know whether or not it is for you. It is a show that was created by Noah Hawley, who's done some other great stuff that I love that I will probably recommend in the next couple of weeks, just so I can have an ongoing theme here. But so that's all I got to say about that. Oh yeah, actually I do have to mention that it also stars oh my God, what's his name? Hamish Linklater, who I think is probably one of the most underrated. I guess I should say it co-stars him. He's not like the main character, but one of the most underrated actors I think working today. And I'll also say it features Aubrey Plaza, who is an actress that I don't have. Look, this is not personal. I just for a lot of her characters I don't love. But I gotta say, in this, she just totally. I totally changed my mind about Aubrey Plaza after watching this show. So, anyways. That is all I'm going to say about that. Again, it is streaming on Hulu, and I guess I will pass this back to Renee.
Well, hello. I am. I think you'll be happy to know, Paul, that you are in the clear because I thought to myself, I really need to hunker down and recommend some movies that maybe don't have dolls or sharks. So
What?
yeah. So we're a doll-free, shark-free recommendation. Although there might be a doll maybe in this one. I don't really remember. I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's a kid with a doll at some point in this movie. Anyhow, so I was scrolling around. Well, this was another one of my thoughts. I've been giving a lot of Tubi recommendations lately, and I thought, well, let's change things up and go with Pluto, because I just want to give people a free place to watch things. So I'm scrolling through the list. I see this movie, such a good movie. I thought I'm going to recommend this, and then I checked our history, and one of my cohorts here has recommended this movie, but it's been about a year. So I'm going to go with it because just in case you missed it, you should watch 2014's Snowpiercer. It is like this post-apocalyptic movie, and there's, I guess, really the only place that people can survive is on this train, which is going around the globe on this I guess it's essentially like a perpetual motion engine that just kind of keeps it going and going and going. And I don't want to give too much away, but there's ways that people are separated within the train. It's really interesting. It's kind of fun, and I shouldn't say kind of fun. It is fun. It's got a lot going on, and it's interesting concept, and excellent execution. Great cast. It has Chris Evans and Song Kang-ho. Hopefully I pronounced that better than Paul did with his. Tilda Swinton and Octavia Spencer and Ed Harris and John Hurt. So it's got a great cast, and I really liked it, and I think you will too. So that is my recommendation, and it is called Snowpiercer. It's available on Pluto, Plex, Redbox, and VIX, which I don't believe I've heard of before. And I'll pass this back to Paul.
Why, thank you. Yeah, Snowpiercer is great, and it's directed by Bong Joon-ho. Ah, crap! I'm gonna screw up his name. Bong Joon-ho, who did Parasite.
Oh,
Yeah,
there you go.
So,
Thank you.
So let me just, I'm gonna try and redeem myself, though I just fucked up his name. So the director of the doll is Rocky Soraya, give or take, and the actress is Sarah Wihayanto. Probably mispronounced that as well, but at least I give it a go. And guess what? They're also in The Doll 2 from 2017, also playing on Netflix, also from Indonesia. Also scary as hell. In fact, let's put it this way. Literally in the first 5 minutes of the movie, literally twice, I was like, holy fuck, I screamed. I mean, it was, I mean, I really did. Didn't I, Renee? Didn't I say holy fuck when we watched it?
I was going to say that
yes.
I witnessed the moment, but yeah. So.
Yeah, it was, I mean, it was, and they were holy fuck worthy. It's pretty amazing. It can be a pretty brutal film. And again, this is Laras going against another doll that is acting as a conduit. Sometimes it takes her a while to show up in the films. And yes, there are further adventures of Laras. There's another film called Sabrina, which is actually a direct sequel to The Doll 2. And I believe coming out just around any time now will be The Doll 3, which is the fourth film. But since I guess Sabrina was sort of the sequel to The Doll 2. Anyway. But yeah, those aren't the ones I'm recommending. Right now I'm recommending The Doll and The Doll 2 on Netflix. And speaking of sequels and bad segues, it's Zach.
It's me. I'm actually the third sequel in the trilogy, so I'm therefore the worst. So I mentioned my first pick. For once, I actually have a theme. I'm kind of following in Paul and Renee's footsteps here. So my first pick, I mentioned it was the show Legion was created by Noah Hawley, but I also mentioned that it is based on comic books. It is based on the X-Men comic books, and obviously based on the character Legion from those comic books. The thing that this show does that I actually really like is a lot of these other shows, they will say something like based on the Marvel comics or something like that, and they actually don't give very good credit to the creators of the characters, which I hate. But luckily, the one thing that Legion does differently is it actually credits the creators of Legion in every episode. And the creators of Legion were Chris Claremont and Bill Speaking of messing up names, I think it's Bill Sienkiewicz. I'm gonna pretend that's right. So my second recommendation actually gets a little bit more into one of these guys, and the name of the movie is Chris Claremont's X-Men. It is a documentary about Chris Claremont, who, if you're not familiar with the X-Men comics, he basically took the X-Men once upon a time. If even if you're not into comics, you probably know the X-Men is like one of the biggest franchises in comic books. But that wasn't always the case. They were all actually kind of third stringers at one point. And Chris Claremont basically reinvented them and turned them into one of the most popular comic book franchises of all time. And this is a really great movie because it has some great interviews with a lot of the creators and a lot of the people that were working with him at the time. It's got interviews with people, and if you're not familiar with comics, you won't recognize these names. But if you are, you'll recognize how big these are. They got interviews with Len Wein, Jim Shooter, Rob Liefeld, Ann Nocenti, Louise Simonson, and, of course, the man himself, Chris Claremont. And I gotta say, there are things about this film as a documentary I don't think are great. That is to say, it's not a AAA documentary, but just the fact that they got interviews with these people, and a lot of the movies actually just like, I guess, an interview that they did with Ann Nocenti, Louise Simonson, and Chris Claremont. And I guess they had them all together, and they're basically just kind of shooting the shit and kind of reminiscing, which is really awesome. So if you like comic books, this is a no-brainer. Even if you don't like comics, even if you're just kind of tangentially interested in, comic books as a medium, this is just a really interesting, look into this guy who kind of, he didn't do it single-handedly, obviously, because he worked with a lot of great artists, but he was, as a writer, he was kind of responsible for creating the X-Men that we know and love today. So anyways, this one is available on Prime Video, Tubi, Pluto TV, Shout TV, and VRV. So check it out, especially if you like Legion. You can actually can watch that, and then you can watch this movie, or you can do it vice versa. And I guess we're done, right?
You pass it to Renee.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You had one more. Sorry.
You don't have to listen to my second recommendation.
I haven't done this in so long. Look, I'm out of practice. Renee, okay. You just cut that out. Anyways, so I guess we have one more pick. Let's go to Renee for our final suggestion.
See, I really enjoy this now because I have full control over the editing.
Yeah. Well, you also know, you know that anytime I say I'll edit that out, I don't actually edit it out. So
yeah. That's my favorite part.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Oh, man. Okay. My second recommendation, nobody else has recommended yet, so it's fresh, even though the movie is a few years old. So this movie is called Gonjam Haunted Asylum. Please forgive me if I've pronounced that incorrectly. It is actually another Korean movie. I don't know necessarily that Snowpiercer is considered Korean, even though the director is and some of the actors are, but anyway. This movie is about a crew of, it's a bunch of guys and girls. They're part of this, almost like think of like a YouTube series where people are live streaming from haunted houses and places like this. And they're sort of reacting to, they're like doing things, watching the fans react and subscribe and the viewer count and all that stuff. So they're just sort of stepping things up and, trying to make things really, spooky and scary for the viewers. But, is there more going on? I don't know. You'll have to watch the movie to find out. It's called Gonjam Haunted Asylum. It's available on Amazon Prime, Shudder, Tubi, Vudu, and Plex. And now I'm all mixed up. Paul, you already went.
I think we're done. And I want to second the Gonjam Haunted Asylum.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked it a lot.
And I'll second your recommendations for the dolls.
Yeah.
And I would actually like to second, I'm going to second Bill's recommendation from last week, House by the Cemetery. Oh my God. First of all, he was not joking about the dubbing of the little Dutch boy with his little haircut. Oh my God. He looked like he should have been wearing little wooden clogs. But I really enjoyed that movie. I thought the acting they did was really quite good. And the little girl, I liked her a lot. And, I don't normally care for the kids in the movies, but yeah, I enjoyed that movie a lot. So I would recommend that one as well.
Yay.
And Yeah. So I guess we're done. Does anybody have a song to sing us out with?
Why, it's funny you should ask. I actually do. I've got one related to the two movies I did.
Oh, I'm scared.
Yeah, it's Shabby Doll by Elvis Costello and the Attractions.
Oh boy.
So here we go. Giving you more of what's for. Always worked for me before. Now I'm a shabby doll.
And for the weekend of June 17th, Paul recommended The Doll, available on Netflix, and The Doll 2, also available on Netflix. Zachary recommended Legion, available on Hulu, and Chris Claremont's X-Men, available on Prime Video, Tubi, Pluto, Shout, and VRV. I recommended Snowpiercer, available on Pluto, Plex, Redbox, and VIX, and Gonjam Haunted Asylum, available on Amazon Prime, Shudder, Tubi, Vudu, and Plex.